Alright, welcome once again to Clinical Theurgy, Episode 2, previously known as Untitled Hotel Game.
True.
We rejoin the party on a date I haven't entirely decided yet, but is currently within the calendar year of... Give me 1 second, let me pull up my calendar. It is currently within the month of Deshris. I have just not decided on the exact date yet. Is this looping? No, okay, it just sounds like it's looping. Yeah. Well, it also does that thing where it gets silent in the middle towards the end and then almost starts up entirely again. Alright, so... who remembers where we left off last session? And it is worth 100 XP for the information.
So last session, we had been tasked with finding a little girl, and we all work for our own various reasons for the Ministry of Magic. We are kind of like junior investigators, or we're basically trying to become full-fledged investigators, I guess. So this is kind of like our first real case, I think.
For the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah, you're not really trying to become investigators. You're just required to do a certain amount of labor for them in order to qualify for your permit or whatever sort of thing that you're working towards specifically.
Okay. So, and then we had gone to the home. Well, first we went to the guard that had, like, he was a higher level guard, so it was kind of weird that he was the one that was like the first person on the scene. He claims that he was visiting family, but we kind of thought he was a little bit sketchy. And we interviewed him first, and then we went on to the home of the missing child. And that was like the mother was someone that works as a hostess, and she had... she was kind of like the kind of person that she didn't really want to be a parent, but according to her, she hadn't done anything to the child, of course, and she was the kind of person, she was very difficult to work with. Like, she would get insulted, like, on the most, like, you know, offhanded things. Like, no, to be fair, we did ask
Insinuated she was a
yeah.
worker of the night or something.
But at the same time, like, she also was like one of those people that it seemed like she was just looking for a reason to take offense as well. So we talked to her. We looked around the child's room. We noticed that the child's room was very messy, but there were like places where you could walk with your footprints. And we kind of, you know, were like tracking those, and we were just kind of like, you know, we had noticed some things in the room like that. Like, it looked like maybe the child had gone out through the window. One strange thing was that the magical alarm didn't sound. And, you know, according to her, she would have heard it, and she just didn't hear it. So...
And there was the faint transmutation magic at the back.
Yes. And so we were going to go back to the ministry and continue our investigation.
Mm-hmm. Very good. All right, so go ahead and take down 100 XP. That's a good recap.
I don't remember it being a girl. I remember it being a boy.
It was a boy. That is correct.
Did I say it was a girl?
Yeah.
You can take 15 XP for that. It's not full, but there's some deserving there. Alright, so you all head back to the Ministry of Magic. To kind of report your current findings, you are met with... shit, where did I put those notes? Uh-oh. Hold on. Loading. Where's my keep? There it is. I'm actually worried I didn't offload these notes into keep, so I might not have her name on hand at the moment. I did not, and I do not know what Whitney did with my laptop. So yeah, I don't have the head of your current overseer's name on hand. I do apologize for that. Does anybody have that in their notes?
Unfortunately, I do not.
Oh, we did meet with her, right?
She's the one who gave you the dossier.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's fine. I can always pull it up later. It's literally on my laptop in a Notepad++ document. So I did not have Keep open in my laptop because, I don't know, sometimes I do dumb things. Like, I actually have a bunch of notes for other campaigns in different notebooks, or in different, notes, and I have not converted them over to a more organized Keep structure. So that's fine. You guys can report your findings to her. She is glad to see you, but somewhat expectant that maybe you've come to some sort of resolution. What do you have for me so far?
Well, so far we've determined that the mom, although very odd acting, doesn't really seem to have any clue what's happening with her child. The guard that checked on it seems a little fishy. His whole story just doesn't line up. And we were able to detect some magic in the room, but no solid leads on what actually happened to the boy.
And what magical energies were detected in the room?
Some faint transmutation magic around the bed.
Transmutation. Bizarre. Did she have any sort of alarm or alert system that would allow her to know if somebody came in and out?
She did.
Worthy of note that she said that the alarm did not go off. She did not hear it, and I did actually test it. It does actually work.
Good. Very good. We have a lot of investigators that tend to skip that testing part. So very good. Were there any other oddities that you noticed?
Some weird, areas on the floor that appeared someone had made spaces in the, mess of the room to, walk towards the bed. Like as if someone came in through the window, walked towards the bed, but then we didn't see any that appeared to be like they turned around and left. They just kind of went to the bed.
Did you happen... Go ahead.
Point of clarification. So, in a child's room, there is sort of, the chaos of toys on the floor, which she is explaining. It did look like someone came in the window and actually made places to place their feet on the ground, walked over to the bed, and I do believe I did see a space in the toys where someone turned around, but I don't believe they went back to the window. That's just a theory, though. We can't really know.
But no, but only transmutive magic.
That's all I detected was just transmutation.
To me, this sounds like the work of someone dimension dooring. I don't know if she had any access to blockers for the windows to prohibit extra-dimensional movement or perhaps interdimensional movement. But I assume she would have said something about that if that was the case.
Yeah, she definitely didn't mention anything of that sort.
Did you get a chance to investigate the outside around the house?
We did not take a look at that.
Am I familiar with Dimension Door magic?
Give me a Knowledge Arcana. Sadly, not much. You've heard of the spell before. But not much otherwise.
So, out of character, I wouldn't know what school of magic it comes from?
No, not with a 10.
Okay.
Well,
We were wanting to follow up with her place of employment in the school. We're trying to get an idea of, she seems to not have any idea who would take her child. She doesn't even know the child's father. and we're trying to get an idea of how she treated the child because
Which seems ridiculous. How do you not know someone you literally have sex with? Like, I don't understand.
well,
Whoa.
and and not only that though, but she seems to, she didn't seem to know anything about if the child had any friends or anything like that. There was a lot of questions that she just couldn't answer.
Well, it's not uncommon for someone in her status to have some issues being able to keep track of her children while she's trying to maintain an income. There are a number of reasons that someone might not know whom the father of their child is, and it's not really our place to get involved in trying to come to find out why that is.
I mean, but why? The father could be our, like, prime suspect.
Certainly, I do not disagree. But at this time, we need to figure out how it is that something would have gotten in without tripping the alarms. And you saw inside of the house no signs of any spell besides transmutation. And I know not personally of any transmutation spell. And about what level of strength was this transmutation?
I believe it was weak?
Faint.
That's what I remember.
Faint, yeah. I believe that's what I detected.
Yeah.
To be honest, I only detected magic in the bedroom. I didn't detect magic anywhere else in the house, as I was mostly concerned with the bedroom.
Is there some place that Baru can look up Dimension Door?
Yes, the Ministry of Magic has a library that you have full access to, and the library has just about every book on magic you could conceivably want.
Okay.
Are there any other findings you'd like to report?
We discussed the fact that there seemed something a little wonky about the guard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we can file a report if you can find any potential evidence of wrongdoing or inactivity or false reporting.
Out of character, are we aware of the fact that if we file a report, we pretty much make life difficult for people?
You could potentially be making someone's life more difficult. You could be basically getting him in trouble. You could be making life more difficult for you because now you may not have the guards may not necessarily be as on your side if they know that you're like gonna tattle on them on any little tiny thing that they do wrong. So it kind of depends on the severity of what you discover and how much evidence you have as well behind what it is that you're
I feel like going and investigating a disappearance of a child without your magical detecting device and missing magical auras is a decently big deal. That's a pretty big clue to miss when you're investigating something.
Well, it is not necessarily unreasonable for someone to take their lunch, go out of their way to see family or friends for a little while, but not bring their equipment with them. A lot of our men don't like to carry the equipment around on them. It tends to create some issues in some places with people, especially like families that may not necessarily feel as comfortable around magic, having such an item in their home.
The problem with that is you foster incompetence. When you have people who are investigating things, you want them to do the best job they can. I don't want to get this guy in trouble. I don't currently think it's worth, making his life more difficult, but he's certainly on Baru's radar.
Okay. So you guys do not want to file a report on him as of right now?
I guess not right now, but
I'm not
something.
the leader of the group, so more of a follower. So if everyone else wants to, I will go along. But if asked, I will say I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think it warrants it right now.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you guys want to do before we move on to the next day?
I want to look up Dimension Door.
Okay. You can do that. You can easily, are you going to ask for help finding it, or do you want to look on your own?
This is out of character.
Mhm.
I happen to know that Dimension Door is not a transmutation spell,
Correct.
and she suggested that it was the Dimension Door, so I want to look it up so that I have the knowledge that it's
Yep.
not a transmutation spell.
Certainly. Are you going to ask somebody for assistance on finding information about the spell, or you're going to look
No.
on your own? Okay, so that is
So
a
I want to be a competent investigator, so I'm
Sure.
going to learn to do this on my own.
that is a knowledge arcana check at a +4. Okay. So you are able to find a book, and you will have a number of details about Dimension Door, as well as some of the limitations of Dimension Door. So essentially, you can have the spell itself, knowledge. I'm assuming out of character, you know quite a bit, since you've been playing the game for a while.
So Barwell wants to know, this is what he's looking for.
Mhm.
First of all, what school is it, and what kind of residual energy signature would it leave behind?
Yeah, so typically it would be a conjuration spell. But the book also does the book that you're looking at with a 20, with a 24 actually, also does talk about the fact that there are a number of creatures that have innate supernatural or even extraordinary abilities that emulate the effects of a dimension door, allowing them to sort of move through space and time without leaving any residual energy behind them, but still having many of the same limitations.
And would it allow them to take passengers?
If the passenger were willing.
Uh-huh. That's a key. I wanted to know that.
Mm-hmm.
The boy, if he was dim-doored out, would have to want to go.
Correct. There is also a limitation on the amount of weight that you can carry.
And is the limitation based on
what
the
the person casting it is capable of carrying?
Okay. So you can't just walk up to a 700-pound statue, put your hand on it, and dim-door it out.
Correct.
Okay. I will. I'm guessing this information probably takes me a little while to find, so in the morning I will share this with everyone else.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, would the dimension door leave a signature behind of conjuration?
If the spell were being cast as a conjuration spell, then yes, or as a dimension door spell, it would, and it would leave one of a pretty reasonable resonant energy even after a few hours of being cast.
But if it was an extraordinary ability or supernatural ability, it would not?
It is likely it would not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, so I will actually do a little bit more research and see if I can find if there is a creature who can cast this as a supernatural or extraordinary ability. I'm sure there's many, but I'm just doing.
Yeah, there's a large number of creatures that are listed there. There's not really any description. This book is really just based on. It's a book about the spell Dimension Door and the permutations and different types of things that can utilize it. So it goes into some pretty good detail. Probably too much detail for your full brain to keep. But you can see a list of various creatures that all have Dimension Door.
Okay. I will try and retain as much of the information as I can.
Okay.
Am I allowed to actually check the book out, or does it have to stay?
No, they do require the book stay in this library. This is a library for use of investigators. It is not a library that you can check things out of unless you are a very high rank and it's specifically for a case.
Well, NIT, that's a high rank. Okay, then I will call it a night, and in the morning I will share this information with the rest of them.
Okay. And the other three of you?
I think I would want to go look up briefly, and I will ask for help because I am not very adept with knowledge of the arcane, so I'll ask someone for help. I'm basically looking for fairly weak spells that would be specifically transmutation that could alter the I don't know, like things that would alter a person, like maybe alter their size. Or I'm just thinking like, okay, if someone tells me it's transmutation, okay, that's transmuting, that's changing. What would be weak spells that could possibly change a boy?
Certainly. So if you're going to ask for help, that is essentially the equivalent to advantage. So you may roll twice here on a knowledge arcana.
Yeah, I'm not trained, so...
Okay, that's still fine. This is a library, so there is some additional advantage to this.
You could also find me.
Okay. Well, you're busy in studying, so if she comes in, it would interrupt your ability to do what you need to do.
If she asks for my help, I'd be willing to assist.
Yeah, when I see her roll a 2, my character says, "No, open the book."
Hey, I got to roll twice. I'm going.
Yeah,
with
no,
16,
that is
okay?
actually a 20 total, because the library does give you an implicit bonus. So you start going, like at first you're like, well, what about this section? And they inform you that nothing in that section has anything to do with magic. And then she like guides you over to another like series of books, and there's a book on like low-level transmutation spells. And she'll set it down in front of you, and it's kind of like a preliminary rundown of everything that transmutation can do in its early stages. And essentially, you now have a list of all first level transmutation spells in front of you.
I love that. That section has nothing to do with magic. That's the bathroom.
That's what a 2 is.
Yeah.
So you'll find, let me pull up just a quick list of, this is not working well for me. This is one of the reasons I wish I could.
It's only like, 40 or 50 transmutation spells.
Not in the first 2 levels.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's not like a ton.
Well, does the list include arcane and divine spells?
Yes. So you've got like Jolt, Mage Hand, Mending, Message, Open Close, Root, Scrivener's Chant, Arcane Mark. Not Arcane Mark. Sorry, that's not actually transmutation. That is now universal. Then you've also got Alchemical Tinkering, Alter Winds, Animate Rope, Ant Hall, Body. Like there's a number of spells. Stuff you're looking for that can kind of inherently change the appearance of something or the properties of something. There's spells like Enlarge Person, Reduce. I think not Change Shape. That's 3, I think, right?
Cut out for a second. For
Alter
me,
Self.
large
Yeah.
person.
Alter Self, Reduce Person, Enlarge Person, Youthful Appearance, Wizened Appearance, Vocal Alteration. Let's see here.
Maybe we're looking for an old guy.
There's all of the like enhancement bonuses to your physical stats.
Yeah, I'd be looking for things specifically. Like her thought process is like something that like transmute you something into hide in plain sight, or make it easier to take out a window, or like. So I'm not really thinking of things that would like necessarily change appearance, like old or young, but more things that like.
So what you'll ultimately get at then is that that's not really a facet of transmutation.
Yeah. I think the only thing that would stand out to me is maybe the Reduce Person, just because, well, if you're trying to steal a kid, if you can make them smaller, that's probably easier.
No, but we have to put the 2 together. Okay, so if I dim door in and I'm going to take the child and dim door him out, he has to be willing. So what if I change my appearance to be something or someone that the child trusts?
Mm-hmm.
I can see Gingy likes that idea.
All right,
I'll be right
Gingy,
back.
what are your what do you want to do before bed?
Well, I mean, I would be available, like, to help people, like, if they wanted help with research, but it seems like those two kind of have the research covered. So, I think that Brianna would be more like, okay, well, they got it covered, so I'm just gonna go home, have a meal, and go to bed.
Okay. Is she going to spend any time trying to contemplate on anything related to the case?
Just maybe mulling over, like, ways in which transmutation magic could be used in order to make a child disappear. You know, like, as far as that kind of, because since Elizabeth said that it was transmutation magic, then she's kind of thinking about, like, how that could be used in child abduction. Basically.
Sure. Give me a knowledge arcana as you sit and contemplate. Yeah, even with the 10, you're pretty sure that, like, nothing that comes to mind could just kind of make a child disappear. Like, maybe shrink a child, but not really make a child disappear.
Right.
And Gul'ran.
Gul'ran wants to check in on the church to see if maybe they've heard of any missing children lately, or any come wandering in, maybe.
Sure. You go check in with the church. And they will inform you that as of present, other than runaways, there's been no real instances of missing children recently.
Runaways, you say? Any wee lads?
From time to time, but usually runaways are they tend towards kind of finding their way either back home or to a place that they're easy to find.
So none have come in recently, then?
No, sadly not. It's been at least a few days since last we've seen a runaway.
What about, sorry, out of character, what was the neighborhood we were in? Like, had a name for it, or the area we were in?
Don't remember if I had a specific name for it, but if I don't remember if I had a specific district name for it.
Well, I would just describe that area and say, like, oh, we heard, I heard there's crimes in the area. Any idea what's going on in that area?
Usually the crimes there are, people getting a little violent with each other. Lots of fist fights, lots of injury comes out of that place. We have a few clerics that roam throughout the area that try to make sure that people are being taken care of. Some curing here, some preventative, spells to make sure, unwanted children aren't occurring.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It is an area where many of them would not be able to handle the burden of childhood, and it is very difficult sometimes to come by, the 1 or 2 time spells you might want to keep yourself safe, and many of them can't afford, some of the more long-term contraceptive options.
Right. Any clerics were in the area? Like the kid went missing 2 days ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would ask about like 2 days ago. Were any clerics in the area? Maybe they saw something.
Give me a. I'll actually do this roll so it's a secret. I was thinking maybe I'd let you do it, but. Damn, that is a 99.
Oh! I found the kidnapper.
Come to think of it, actually, we did have someone who was in that area recently who noticed a very strange, malnourished woman that was wandering about. He mentioned that she said something about how she had lost her child, but she was certain that she knew where he was, and she was going to find him. When asked if, we could help or if she needed any food, she assured him that she was fine and didn't need anything. And she thanked him and went on her way. but it was very strange. Normally, someone in that sort of condition would never have turned down food, and many of our clerics can give you a whole day's meal with little effort.
What are you getting at? She wasn't right in the head, or perhaps a charm?
Perhaps she wasn't quite right in the head. Maybe something else had been on her mind a little too strongly. She seemed, from what he said, she seemed very excessively focused on the child.
Can I speak to that cleric that saw her?
I think that can be arranged.
Yes.
After a little while, older cleric will come out. He's wearing the robes of Athir. So he's got like a little cornucopia, like bursting with food on his robe, like in the top corner of his robe.
Okay. Of course, Gulran would know this, but which god is that? Like, what is
Athir is like all about festivities and like people being happy and kind of like almost like the party god or party goddess of sorts. But she believes in like taking care of people and that everybody deserves to live a full and happy life.
Pleasure to meet you. My name is Gulran. I'm trying to become a cleric.
Always a pleasure. Glad to hear more want to join.
And your name?
I am rolling my name right now. Hold on.
Make him choose a name.
That's fine. That's what the name generator's for.
I mean, I made up some stuff on the spot last night in Rune Lords, and you're asking me, what's your name? Zachariah!
That's a little difficult for me to pronounce. Let's pick a name I can actually say.
Bob.
I am Smilty.
Bob. Who?
Smilty.
Smelty?
Smilty. Smilte. It is Lithuanian. It is Lithuanian origin. No.
Okay.
Smilty
reminds me of the dwarven.
This is this is a halfling.
Ah. Fine name. Anyways, yes, I'm doing an investigation of sorts, and I heard you saw my accent keeps changing and I keep losing it, so I'm just gonna fucking drop the accent because I can't do it. I heard you ran into a fairly odd woman looking for her child. Do you recall any details about this?
Yeah, she was very, very strange. She, normally, even for pale skin, it only goes so far. Her skin was much more pale than I would have expected. I was really concerned. It seemed like maybe she hadn't eaten for a number of days.
Were you able to tell if there was a charm being placed on her, or?
When she turned and walked away, I checked to see if there was any sort of magic upon her, but I saw no signs.
And do you recall what child she was looking for? A boy or a girl?
She said her son, I believe.
It just so happens there is a missing boy in that area. Perhaps she mistook the missing child for her own.
I don't know how someone would do that. She was wearing a hood, but something peculiar about her. There were these, they almost looked like horns, coming out of her head, but it was hard to tell. The hood was rather tight down, so I didn't want to insult her. Perhaps she had some sort of, head trauma that caused a bit of inflation. So I didn't want to ask, but they could have been trying to cover up some sort of horns on her head. And her eyes, they seem to be empty and dark.
Is there any knowledge check I can roll here to discern what he's maybe describing?
You can give me a knowledge. I'll give you a knowledge arcana and a knowledge nature.
Nature I'm untrained in.
Okay, so yeah, I will not give you a knowledge nature then.
Nat 20.
Yep, modified to a 19.
Hell yeah.
So if this thing had horns, There's a chance it had some sort of magical origin, possibly like maybe some sort of humanoid that had been under some form of aberrant magic. Or perhaps it could be something of other magical origin. But normally, like, aberrant creatures would have some sort of magical energy coming off of them, and he did mention he didn't see any signs of magic.
Interesting. Well, unless you can think of anything else about this lady, I thank you for your time, good sir.
One thing of note.
Mm-hmm.
The eyes. I know I mentioned it once, but imagine
Yes,
for a
what about our
second.
eyes?
Imagine for a second that you looked up at the sky and there were colors swirling around in the darkness at night. Her eyes sort of seemed like they echoed that. I wasn't sure if maybe it was the light playing tricks on me. But I wish I would have followed her. But she was in the area you spoke of.
Well, perhaps she'll be still in that area. I'll check it out later.
I don't believe that she was regular to there. She had a smell very, very vile. Like she had been rummaging around in like waste.
You're positive this wasn't abyssal smell?
No,
You mentioned horns.
abyssal smell has a smell of soot and brimstone, and this was definitely missing from that. This was more of a much worse than someone who lives on the street, but not the same as someone who consumes those who live on the street.
Okay, well. Do you have any idea where she may be?
I would have no way to know. I really wish I would have followed her.
As do I, friend. Well, I think that's all for today then, my good sir.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. If I had any gold, I would donate it, but I do not. Alas, I do not. So, onward and outward.
Yep. All right. So the four of you can get some sleep. The next morning, when you report into the ministry to kind of check in and get ready for work, the four of you are handed another dossier.
Oh, great. I haven't done the first one yet.
This is related, potentially. Another child has gone missing. No signs of entry.
Same area, or is it...
Different area. This is in the High Wealth District.
Okay.
A child by the name of Geoff Morgan. Geoff Morgan is a child of a very well-renowned family of knights. The child of Katla and Haraldor. This being now multiple kidnappings with a similar signature means that this is going to get pushed up in terms of significance. So it is imperative that you meet with them immediately. No guard has been there is presently a guard that has been dispatched, and you are to meet with that. There has presently been a knight that has been dispatched, and you are to meet with that knight immediately, and he will give you his findings.
What is the knight's name?
The knight in question is a knight by the name of Generating.
Generating, what an odd.
Franjo.
Generator.
Say it again, please.
Franjo.
And judging from his name, it seems the races here have very specific creeds. What is he? Is he human, halfling?
So Franjo is a human. Well, some derivative of human. You would know this to be like Franjo. Give me a knowledge, local or history.
I have neither trained.
Oh, you can still give it to me because this is reasonably well known. At a 7 though, you're not really sure. Like, you know that this is a more human-esque name in origin, but not really sure. It sounds like it's derivative from something else though.
And the last question I have is, what is his rank? Do we know?
He is a rank 3 knight. A tier. I forget what I was calling. I think it was rank 3.
And just to recall, the one we met with was a rank 2?
I believe he was
Or
also
he
rank 3.
as well? Oh, okay.
So the ranks, they ascend?
Yes,
The
they
higher
ascend.
you are,
The higher you are, the higher the rank.
Well, if no one has any pressing matters, I guess this is where we need to go.
I do want to make sure that I've shared the information that I found about the conjuration magic and dim door, and the fact that I think it's probably something, because there was no magical residue of conjuration magic. I think it's something with the innate ability, a supernatural or an exceptional ability of some kind. Because if it was a spell, it definitely would have left some kind of residue.
Are you telling us this on our way to
Sure.
meet
Yeah,
with?
presumably.
Either that or over breakfast.
It's assumed
I'm
that
also-
you ate breakfast on your own and then came into work.
Okay.
So you
So
guys
yes,
can have the conversation on the way.
probably on the way.
Anyone else who wants to report findings or opinions, thoughts?
I'll let the group know that I didn't really find a whole lot, but I just looked into some slight transmutation stuff and just looked up some generic spells that could have been used on the kid, but nothing is super standing out other than like if someone changed their appearance or reduced the child's size, something of those matters.
Okay, then I will put 2 and 2 together and actually share my theory that with the low-level transmutation spell and the fact that if someone is using Dimension Door to take the child out of the room, they need consent, so that possibly, an alter self spell could have used to make the assailant be someone that the child would recognize and trust, and then use that as consent.
Yeah, I would just quickly go over that. I found like a small lead perhaps, but nothing super promising. But we can discuss that later after we do this thing.
Well, we certainly should see if there's any similarities. Maybe, hopefully the knight that we're meeting with had his detect magic kit with him. So we can see if there's also transmutation magic used in this one as well.
Well, we have them too. We have. Well, I have the ability to detect magic.
Yeah,
So
but the knights have a specific item that they can use that will also detect. But yes, it is helpful that some of you do have access to detect magic. In fact, I think everybody has access to detect magic in the group.
Good stuff.
Excellent.
All right, daylights are burning. Let's go.
Okay. You head over to the Morgan estate. It is a extravagant piece of land here. That it is like a very large size house wrapped around a very large metal fence. The outside there is a footman who will greet you as you make your way up.
This is not the knight, or is it the knight?
No, this is the footman, the man who takes care of the door and handles some of the outer manners of the estate.
Has the knight arrived yet?
you're looking for Franjo?
That's right.
What are you here for?
Investigating the disappearance of the child. We were told to come talk to the Knight Franjo. Why are you holding up?
Whoa, settle
Yeah.
down. I have to do my job, which is make sure you're not just some random weirdos.
I show him my badge or the thing. I'm like, see, not a random weirdo.
All right, very good.
Random weirdos. Was that a comment about dwarves?
It was a comment
No.
about the fact that many people try to get into the estate. There's a lot of money and objects here that many people would be more than happy to liberate from us.
Gluron squints his eyes. I'd best be hearing you say that to every human who walks up here, not just when there's a dwarf present.
He opens the door to the gate and waves you in, stepping out of the way.
Starts walking in.
I will politely show my badge and say thank you for doing your due diligence.
Thank you.
I show mine as well and just sort of like shake my head. Just
He winks at you as you pass by and gives you like a slight thumbs up. And yeah, you guys can head in towards the home. Outside, you can see the armor-clad knight standing and speaking with the lord and lady of the house. The woman seems to be like trying to wipe away periodic tears. The man seems almost disinterested in having to have this conversation.
Really?
As the four of you make your way up, the three of them kind of cease their conversation and turn towards you, seeing you coming from quite a distance. Are you from the Ministry? Franjo, by the way, has a couple of tufts of hair kind of sticking out from underneath his armor, but the hair's not coming from the back of his neck. It's coming from the side of his face. But he has a very reddish orange skin tone, but not quite not like a deep, just like a faint tone.
So what are you getting at? Like he has a beard, or he has sideburns? Like what do you?
No, you wouldn't really call it sideburns, because sideburns don't really grow outward. They kind of grow around. These seem to kind of puff out, almost like he has a mane.
He's a lion man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get triggered. Is he gonna try and grapple us? Is there any check here I can discern from him?
Yeah, this would be knowledge, knowledge local, knowledge history.
I only have a history.
Okay. He is probably part hobgoblin.
Ooh. Interesting. Okay.
The rest of it looks kind of humanoid. He's got a taller stature overall. But the
half hobgoblin, half human or something.
Yeah, very possible. With skin that kind of reddish orange, it seems very likely.
Okay.
so Brianna makes her way to the front and says, "Yes, we're here from the Ministry. We're here to investigate the disappearance of the child," and she shows her.
Oh, very good, very good. Here's what I've discovered so far. I did a canvassing of the yard, which is where the events were said to have taken place. He was out in the evening. He likes to apparently go out and dig up bugs and other kind of insectile things, like worms. I don't know if are worms technically bugs. I mean, they're rather. Never mind.
Not important.
But there was a weird element of some sort of transmutive magic in the backyard, which, from what I've heard, is linked to potentially the other case that you're here about as well. And he tries to say that in a very low voice, but his tone doesn't really drop too many octaves. So as the mother hears this, she's like, Other? You mean there's more? And the husband just kind of shakes his head. It's going to be fine. I'm sure they have this covered.
Yes.
So Barrow is just scribbling in his notebook. Well, notepad.
So yeah, I'll just like whisper to the knight, like, keep your voice down, man. Jeez.
I'm sorry. It's hard. It wasn't a very strong transmutation. But I got here early enough. Damn. That I think it's a signature of... Oh, let me think for a moment. Hold on. It was definitely some form of, like, alterative transmutation, something that would have changed something in shape or size. I'm pretty sure size, from what I could tell of what was left, though it wasn't much. I happen to be a little...
So like a reduced person spell.
I think so. Seems very similar to that in resonance. It's hard. It can be hard to tell though. Sometimes, as magic fades, it doesn't leave quite the same cloud behind. You know.
Yeah, I was suspecting maybe a reduced person could be the cause of the transmutation.
There.
Was there anything else you noticed? Did you see any clues, smell anything?
Let's see here. Interesting that you ask about smell. There was like the faint smell of like garbage or sewage in the air.
That's a very relevant thing to note.
I thought maybe it was just, a kid digging around in dirt, probably doesn't have much interest in cleanliness.
So Barrow kind of nods his head and looks at Gulron and says, he like knowingly says, the woman from last night, you're thinking?
Indeed. We have heard a report of a garbagey smelling woman going around looking for her child. Perhaps she's been confused in collecting these other children and thinking they're hers.
I look at the knight and I say, can you show me where the child was last seen?
Yes, please follow me. And he'll lead you into the yard, into the backyard. There's like a couple of holes that have been dug in the yard from place to place. Like the yard is this lush green landscape with like bushes like all around. But there are like these points where like there's very clearly someone has come along with like a spade and like dug up some land, and then like rummaged around with fingers for a bit. But he like specifically guides you over to one that looks like it's still kind of partially dug, and he says, "Here is where the signature was that I found."
Okay. Is it in dirt, grass?
It is in grass.
Grass. So that's going to be difficult to see footprint.
Are we all over here, or is it just...
I'm assuming all of you came along,
Yeah,
unless you didn't specifically want to come along.
I'm gonna let the knight know that I'm going to detect magic and just walk around the yard area just to make sure nothing was...
Sure. You can...
Not trying to be like, oh, I don't trust you. I'm just gonna like do a double check, like sweep around there.
Sure. There's a lot of different magical signatures out here as you're going around. There's a number of like what you would know to be kind of continual light spells that exist around the yard to kind of keep, at least some of the backyard lit. But they have the ability to kind of be turned on and off at will. There are some create water ponds that are set up that will flow over periodically and kind of water the grass. Things are kind of on a slight slant, and so the water will kind of flow down. There is the faint residue of the magic like he spoke of, but outside of that, there's not much else that you can find.
All right, seeing the light things, I'll briefly ask the parents if while he was playing out here, were these lights?
Yes, he was. He tends to dim them down quite a bit when he's out looking for his little reagents.
Is it only bugs that he collects?
Sometimes he'll clip a few things off of some bushes or some of the vegetation that he and the gardener work on in the back from time to time.
Who's speaking?
The father.
Okay.
But all in all, he's mostly digging around in the dirt.
So I'm gonna ask the mother, and I'll come up and say, I'm sorry, ma'am. We're gonna do everything we can to find your child. Can you tell me his name and how old was he?
Jeff. Jeff was 7, and I love him so much. I'm sorry, what did you ask? I'm so overwhelmed.
Everything will be fine, ma'am. We'll have him back to you shortly.
Thank you.
So, I'm going to ask the father, so does your son, does he attend school anywhere?
Of course he does. He is enrolled in the most prestigious pre-training academy for knighthood that anyone could attend.
And does he have a lot of friends that he plays with? I'm only asking to sort of get an idea of who's around him.
The children at his school treat him rather harshly. If he would focus more on his studies and less on his diggings, perhaps the students would appreciate him more. If he were more skilled with his saber and less skilled with that shovel.
So both kids were kind of outcast.
Any threats or enemies you have that come to mind when you think about your child being kidnapped?
I likely have many enemies. I've put many a man in jail in my time. It's likely any one of them could want to get their revenge on me.
I'm sorry, what is your profession, good sir?
He is a very high-standing knight. He has reached a point in in knighthood where he often does not actually have to work directly. He'll be assigned specific cases of investigation in very rare circumstances, and he'll come in periodically to handle management level stuff. He is considered to be one of the patrons of knighthood.
I'm not sure there's anything else here we should do. I feel like our best course of action at this point is to go research what sort of creature might maybe have horns, has weird glowy eyes, could possibly dimension door, and might have an interest in children.
I agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's all we can really get from here.
I mean, at least we know that this case is definitely pretty much identical to the last one. Just the only slight differences are wherein.
The class, the
Yeah. So
the wealth of
obviously,
the family.
whatever this is, taking children, just looking for children. Maybe outcast children. Maybe it's just a coincidence that they are both maybe a little bit outcasts. We don't know for sure that the other one was an outcast. The mom didn't have a ton
What
of
about
info.
what about like the physical description of both boys? Do they both kind of look similar at all?
Ooh,
Good question.
give me a sense motive.
It's not trained.
Okay.
Or, I mean,
Everybody can give me this, because I think that's something that...
Gosh, really?
Okay. So Baru, going off of what you've kind of been informed of, the children do have some very similar physical characteristics, as they're described. There aren't any pictures actually of either children that they can describe, but so you've just kind of got the verbal description that's been given. But both of them have a lot of very similar features. They both have, darkish hair. They're both humanoid. They're both more human in nature. They are around the same age, have sort of the same eye complexion, kind of the same face shape. A lot of striking similarities.
and what about
So dark hair, about the same age. And you said similar eye complexion.
Yes.
Did you win to give me a color? Because I'm writing all this down.
Yeah. So you're looking at kind of like a green versus, or I'm sorry, like a brown versus a fuck is the other one called?
Hazel?
Thank you, Hazel. Thankfully, that did not wake up the cat when I said that.
So maybe some sort of creature that, or person that is either lost their kid and is taking kids that look similar, or has some affinity for a certain type of kid.
I was working off of Gulron's theory of it being maybe a mother that, has lost her child and is trying to get the child, take other people's children to because she thinks that's her child, which is why
She would
I
have to
was-
be super messed up in the head, though, because once you have one, wouldn't you be content if you're just trying to replace your missing child? Once you had one, well, you have your missing child. Unless she accidentally, not so accidentally, kills that child.
Whoa.
Why would she have to go get another one,
Well, what if the child, basically dispels her illusion as far as does something that makes her think that it's not her child anymore, and like you said, she might have killed him, or that's why she took another one. We don't know.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe go hit up the library and do some research.
So, I try to comfort and reassure the parents that we will, put our best effort into finding their son, and that I'm sorry that they're going through all of.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So, the four of you head away from here. What is your next course of action, specifically?
Library?
Yeah, that's
Question
what I
mark?
would suggest. I mean, I think we should try to follow up on figuring out what this garbage smelling, if it's a different type of creature, it could just be, I don't know.
Yeah,
Seemed like it was something not human, and if like we're going under the theory like you were thinking that it could dimension door as a what the extra
supernatural or extraordinary ability.
supernatural extraordinary ability, then it's definitely not plainly human. I think we need to try to figure out what this is, and that might give us more information on where or how to find it.
Yeah, so Baru's gonna go on a different direction with like you guys were discussing, it's about the child, or it's something commonplace like a mother looking for her children. Now, he's gonna go the whole, this is a creature that actually goes and hunts down, and looks for children to abduct, rather than it being a normal type of whatever, like it's a mother who's lost their child and she's looking to substitute. He's going to go into the library and specifically look for hag-like creatures or demonic creatures that steal children and can use dimension door. I know that's a kind of a broad topic, but that's what he's going to be in the library looking for.
I mean, that was basically what I was saying to look
Yeah.
for. I was just saying to look up what type of creature that is, not looking specifically at a mother who's lost their kid. I'm saying this doesn't sound like a human. We need to figure out what it is.
I totally agree.
Okay,
Actually,
go ahead.
yeah, I was thinking. A hag was the first thing that came to mind when they were talking about like that garbage smell. But
Okay, so all of you can do quite a bit of research. There are.
Gulron would not like to do research.
What would Ghoulron like to do?
He'd want to hit the
Drink
streets.
some ale.
Okay,
See what the commoners are talking about.
got
And
it.
see if I can chance run into maybe this lady. So yeah, like if you guys are like saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the library, go and say like, books can only take you so far. You need to talk to people. While you guys bury your heads in books, I'm gonna hit the streets.
Okay.
And yeah, split the party.
So I'll come back to library research. Ghoulron, you hit the streets. Give me some either diplomacy or intimidate if you really want to create problems, or some knowledge local.
No.
Hopefully you have one of those. Ugh. You can give me a couple of these actually. Give me about 3 of these.
Ooh.
We'll see what kind of information you get from them. All right. So you're doing this untrained, huh?
No, diplomacy's trained.
What?
He has horrible charisma.
Yeah, not very charismatic as a dwarf.
Right, but that would mean you have like a -4. What?
No, I don't have any ranks in it, but I'm trained in it.
Oh, that's
So I
not
put one
trained.
rank.
Trained would be you have a rank in it. Then you're trained in it.
Oh.
It's a class skill is what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
All right. So, Ghoulron, you hit the streets. Of the people that you talk to, you do get one useful bit of information. There is a lady who is talking about, who's willing to talk to you about an incident in the lower class neighborhood where she lives at that happened a few days ago, right around the time that you know of to be the kidnapping. There was this strange woman who was wandering about, telling people that, well, wasn't really telling people, but like she wasn't focusing on anything around her. She was kind of like bumping into people and saying like, sorry, I need to find my child. And then she'd bump into another person and she just kind of repeated. She seemed very lost. And at one point I kind of walked up to her and I asked her if there was anything that I could do to help her. And she looked at me with these big, dark, wide eyes, and she smelled grotesque. And she like smiled at me with these twisted, sharp teeth. And she said, "No, I know where my child is. I will find him. It's okay. You go on your way."
Did you at any point feel enthralled to follow her at all?
No, not at all. I, in fact, felt like I wished I could get away from that smell. I don't know how anyone would want to be close to her with that smell. It would take... I feel like it would take some amount of magic to make you want to be around her.
Indeed, I heard she had very alluring eyes.
I don't know if I'd call them alluring, but they were very different. Very colorful but dark.
And which area did you say you saw her in?
She was not far from my home. I was on my way home from work. But her smell, it smelled like, you know, after a heavy rainfall and the sewers really get that nasty smell in them. It smelled much like that.
All right, well, if you'd be so kind, could I accompany you to your residence and I could see this area you're talking about?
Certainly. She will take you to that area, the area where she remembers bumping into her. And it is not far from where the home of the other woman is.
The home of the other woman, you mean the mother?
The mother whose child was kidnapped the first time.
Oh, okay. So in this area where she said she saw her, is there anything left behind, like anything at all, or is it just looks like normal?
After this much time, it would be difficult to like discern footprints or anything like that, because thousands of people, hundreds if not thousands of people, probably walked through this area.
Okay. Do I have like equivalent of a business card?
Like you can give her your name, but they don't really have business cards per se.
Okay. So I'll just say to her, if you see anything, ask for Gulran at the ministry. That's concerning a case.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll just like look around and see if I can.
Yeah, give me a perception.
Ooh. For once, I have a character with good perception.
You will roam about the area. And while you're doing this, give me a sense motive. Okay, you realize that, like, with what you're doing here, having her come out here and kind of show you things, perhaps you should find out where the cleric, like, if you could have the cleric come out here and give you an idea where he's at. And maybe it might give you, like, a path of where she was walking. If this woman bumped into her here, and this woman bumped into her here, and she was kind of beelining it to a specific place, then you might be able to kind of trace backwards where that line of where she came from was. And that might let you kind of triangulate where she originated.
Okay, yeah. So before I let this woman go back to her house, I'd ask what time she saw her here. And then, yeah, I would, like, note that down and then see where that lines up with the cleric where he saw her.
Okay, so are you going to go get the cleric and see if you can bring him out here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can switch back to the...
Yep. Absolutely.
Out of character, I'm getting one of those vibes of, like, someone who, like, kidnaps children of parents who aren't paying enough attention to their children.
Ooh, sounds like we're doing a fairy tale.
Right? That's what I was feeling like. Like, I feel like we're in a creepy pay attention to your children fairy tale, or the evil witch will come and take your children.
Okay, so the three of you can do some research on various creatures that have the ability to dimension door. Go ahead and give me some knowledge, either Arcana or Nature checks. Well, let's start with one each.
I'm not trained in either. I have
you have a full skill library, so you can still make the check. Excellent. Okay, so the thing that you, like, notice the most as you're going through a lot of this is there's, like, a couple of things that are really common to have Dimension Door. Most of them are either like demons, or fey creatures. That tend to have like a dimension door that is outside of the regular purview of spell casting.
Okay. I would then focus in on the fey creatures and look for something with horns and bad smell.
So that's where it gets a little bit more difficult, is you can't quite find anything specifically that has horns.
Okay, well then I would focus on the bad smell, because we know bad smell for sure, but the horns thing was just like, maybe saw something, but maybe wasn't.
Okay. So focusing in on bad smells and fey, you'll get to one of a couple of creatures. Let me pull these up. Make sure you also have... Yeah, that's about right with what you've got for your checks. Find this real quick. Hold on one sec. What the hell? What did I end up... Oh, it took me one step off of what I was looking at in my list. You find either a... Well, one of the things you find is a mite. And mites tend to be very, like, nasty little blue creatures, very small, that kind of roams around in, like, dark or dimly lit places, as they don't deal very well with bright lights. Mites are kind of vicious creatures that are very ugly, very kind of smelly, but normally wouldn't get real close to people. The other...
I think I wanna...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think I wanna switch up my... After whatever you're gonna say about the other creature, I might switch up my focus and look towards maybe books that are like, because I was feeling like this is like almost a fairy tale vibe, so I would look for things of like whatever in this world would be the equivalent of like, you know, like tall tale stories where, you know, like, oh, like the boogeyman will get you type thing, like those things that like aren't like 100% true, but like are the things that are like, well, maybe this could be real, and
So,
look for maybe...
Here's the weird part about that. Like,
Okay.
You're in a world where it's not that you're telling stories that aren't true to scare your kids. You're literally telling your kids, hey, don't hang out at the streets in the streets at night. Ghosts could eat you, because ghosts
like,
could
literally
actually
could
eat you. Or
Okay, so I would change to like fae and any relation of like taking children. Like, is there any type of fae that like wants children for some reason?
Okay, so it needs to stay kind of like there's only so much research you can do in a given amount of time.
Sure.
So I want to finish what I've got for these, and then I want to
Yeah.
jump to what research the other two have seen.
Okay.
So the other potential fae that you find is much smaller. It would be like you could hold it, in the palm of your hand. It is a jinkin. Jinkins are also another like largely underground creature. They can move from place to place using a dimension door like effect. But they tend to hold like grudges on people. But they act a little bit more gremlinistic. They tend to like objects a little more than they like people.
Okay.
So that's what you get from your kind of nature direction.
Okay.
And that's actually a little more even than probably could have been gotten, but that's okay. This is a full library that is equivalent to a 20. Baru,
I'm focusing more on the woman.
Okay.
Like, I think it's some kind of hag. That's
Okay.
borrowed.
So if
Going
you're
back there.
looking into hags more so, what you are largely going to find... Give me one moment. Is that hags tend to be on the spell-like ability scale as opposed to the supernatural ability scale. So it's unlikely that this is a hag, as hags don't tend towards having access to Dimension Door as like an innate power. It's a power that like they do still have to draw from the Arcana to kind of force out of themselves. But you do notice that like your ideas, the thoughts that come to mind are like, you know, there's very founded linking there, because it is very hag-like for something to like desire something and get caught up in a mentality and lose themselves in that mentality. But there's not really anything that like you're going through this like list of various hags, and there's not really a hag that you can find here that sort of fits what you're looking for.
Okay, and I am not aware of the sewer angle yet, correct?
No, not yet. Not until Ghoulrun gives the information.
Okay.
And Brianna, your search doesn't come out as well as the other two. What are you like sort of focusing on though? I can give you some information.
I'm looking for like supernatural creatures that take children, basically, because we've been told that, you know, the Dimension Door angle is supernatural. Then I'm kind of trying to figure out if there's like certain supernatural creatures that take children.
Okay. So you're looking for things almost outside of the arcane. So do you actually have any ranks in knowledge religion?
They're all class skills, but I don't have any ranks in them yet.
Okay. Well, I guess no, bards get that at first level, right? The ability to make any knowledge check untrained, regardless.
Yeah.
So go ahead and make it. You're also in a full functioning library. Oh God. So you're not sure, like you're picking up a bunch of books, but it's really overwhelming just how much stuff actually has access to Dimension Door. So you'll probably kind of like drown in data as you're looking for stuff.
I need a pastry.
Let's take a really short, like 5-minute break, and we'll come back to find out what happens with Ghoulrun, and go from there.